Hi, I'm Reverend Tina Marie Reese, and today I'm here to talk to you about sticky traps, those horrible situations that leave us confused, drained, frustrated, and if we don't learn how to deal with them, eventually totally out of time to serve anyone else. Sticky traps can eat up all the resources that you and your church have, and all the time your pastor, your church staff, your Stephen ministry team, your caring ministry team, and your parish nurse has. And the truth is that we fall into these traps really quickly and easily. So, what's a sticky trap? Well, there's more than one type of sticky trap, and I'll be presenting some of the other types in another session. In this session, however, I want to talk about one of the biggest causes of sticky traps, codependency. It's a nice word, but what does it mean? Well, the easiest way for me to define codependency for you is to tell you that codependency is when I refuse to let you experience the consequences of your foolish behavior, your bad behavior, your addiction, or your unwillingness to take care of yourself physically, financially, or otherwise. Codependency is when I'm all about what you ought to be doing, how you ought to be living, how you ought to be acting, and what you need in order for your life to be successful, whether you're motivated to do this or not. Basically, codependency is when I'm all about you. But wasn't Jesus all about us? Isn't that what he came for? To live for us? To die for us? To save us? Well, yeah, sort of. Read the Gospels. Jesus came to save us, but spent the majority of his time teaching his disciples so that when he couldn't be here with us anymore, his disciples would be able to spread the gospel. And that would mean that the majority of the time, Jesus was all about making sure that what he wanted to get done was going to get done, whether he was here or not. Jesus' goals, his work, his disciples, his teachings, his stuff, all about him. Please understand me. I'm just saying that Jesus was appropriately self-focused. And that's not all. When the people that Jesus preached to didn't quite get it, did he chase them down and teach it to them again? No. When the people that Jesus healed returned to their lives and started living in ways that didn't honor God, did he go back and find them and speak to them some more? No. And when Jesus preached against oppression of the poor, and then the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the local government continued oppressing the poor, did Jesus go back to that town and pledge to stay there until he could make things right? No! Jesus came to let us know that God loves us and wants things to change, that God has a better way. Jesus showed us what that better way was, and then let us decide for ourselves if we wanted to live according to that better way. Jesus came so that we could have a chance to be saved, to accept his sacrifice on our behalf. But Jesus did his work and then left us to our own consequences if we continue to live in sin and foolishness. Jesus offers us salvation, but he doesn't chase us down and force us to accept it. Basically, what I'm saying is Jesus is so not codependent, and that means that codependency is not a Christian virtue. But what does that mean for us? Number one, do not save people from their consequences. When the family with the financial issues can't pay their rent and they just keep making unwise decisions, maybe it's time for us to stop paying their rent. And I hear you say, but Tina, won't they end up on the street? Well, they might. But then again, when we're not there to save them, they just might magically find a way to pay the rent. People are notorious when it comes to relaxing into foolishness when they know that someone will be there to save them. It's important to distinguish between consequences that cannot be avoided and people who set themselves up to fail. When you lose your job and you need rent and food assistance, okay, mercy is good. But when you foolishly take the family to a trip to San Diego because we just needed some time together to rest after all that we've been through, and now you can't afford food because you spent all your money in San Diego? No. When you seem to think that marijuana and alcohol are necessary food items but can't pay the electrical bill? No. And yes, children will suffer, and people who aren't empowered to make things different will suffer because of the decisions of others. And isn't that wrong? Oh yes, it is wrong that people who have no ability to choose otherwise will suffer because of the decisions of others. So where is mercy if we deny children assistance when they didn't get themselves into this trouble in the first place? Well, think about this. When a child lives in a home that is constantly on the edge of chaos, whether it's financial or emotional, that child is never truly resting, never truly playing, and never truly safe. It's as if that child and their entire family is standing on the edge of a huge abyss, and the child just sits and waits for something to tip the scales and send their family careening over the edge into the abyss. That can't feel good, and that can't be good for the child. Every time you help that family, you don't pull that child back from the edge. Actually, you condemn them to stand there a little while longer because you enable their parent to go on making the same chaotic choices that created this problem in the first place. How many times do you want to make it possible for that parent to create chaos in their own life and in the life of their child without having to face the consequences of that chaos? It is important for you to realize that consequences are the greatest motivator for change that exists. Consequences are great teachers, and they help us to choose differently in the future. When you save people from their foolish choices and help them to continue in their bad behavior, does that honor God? Do you think that you're helping their children? Because you really aren't helping their kids. I'm a therapist, and I work with many adults who spent their childhood living on the edge of that abyss because of one or both of their parents. And they have never ever told me about how much it helped when the people from the church came with food and rent assistance. Not because no one ever came, but because it never really helped. Maybe mercy looks differently than you think it does. I encourage you to question very thoroughly exactly what you're doing when you help save people from consequences that they created in their own life. Again, saving people from consequences they created? Unwise. Saving people from circumstances they did not create? Mercy. Number 2, do not allow any one family, no matter how dire their circumstances or how big their emergency, to become the entire focus of the church's helping resources, as if we alone are their only lifeline to safety and salvation. This is an extension of the previous point. Please hear me, someone with a huge amount of need might not be creating their own consequences, and again, mercy is good. But we cannot afford to take all of our helping resources, all of our discretionary fund, and give it all to one family or person. Well, we can, but we can't do it for long. Doing this is the same as taking all the food at the potluck and placing it in front of just one family or person, and then telling everyone else at the potluck that until that person or family is full, everyone else can go hungry. We would never do that at a potluck, and we really shouldn't do it with our caring resources either. Codependency is not just about us and our behaviors. Do not support codependent behavior in other people either. Don't get me wrong. We cannot stop another person from being codependent. And every single one of us knows someone who just cannot stop focusing on their addicted or mentally ill or incredibly sick loved one, and who lets their entire life and happiness hinge on the well-being of that one person. We cannot stop people from being like that, although we should never contribute to the continuation of that behavior. Do not commit caring resources to the perpetuation of codependent behaviors. That means that we do not send the pastor to visit Mary, Betty's alcoholic daughter, unless Mary has requested that visit. We don't send the parish nurse to Mary with information about diabetes and diabetes resources, unless Mary has revealed to the parish nurse that she has diabetes and has asked for some information. We don't take meals to Mary without her consent. We don't pay Mary's rent just because Betty is tapped out financially and Mary's about to be tossed out onto the street. In fact, we don't pay Betty's rent because Betty has spent all of her money saving Mary and now can't afford to pay her own bills. Supporting codependent behavior supports the continuation of such behavior. And let me tell you, there is a very specific reason why it's called codependency. It was originally called co-addiction, and the term was created by people who treat addiction, and it was coined to describe the highly dysfunctional behavior of the spouse or partner of an addicted person. The spouse or partner isn't addicted to drugs or alcohol. That spouse or partner is addicted to saving the addict from themselves and to saving the family from the consequences of the addict's bad behavior and substance use. Basically, the codependent is addicted to the person they are trying to save. They are addicted. And their addiction is just as destructive and chaos creating as addiction to any substance. Do you normally, in your church or in your ministry, support addiction to a substance? Of course you don't. Do God a favor. Don't support addiction to anything. Not to people, not to substances, not to processes like gambling, eating, or sex. Don't support addiction of any kind. And that includes codependency, or more accurately, co-addicted behavior. Number 4, do not accept or participate in triangulation, no matter who the person is that's doing triangulation and no matter what the issue is. Triangulation is when I talk to you about someone else in an attempt to control how that someone else thinks, acts, or behaves. Triangulation can be hard to catch, and so I've included a handout with this session that you can download that describes triangulation in greater detail. Basically, don't let people pull you into a conflict that doesn't involve you in the hopes that you'll resolve the conflict for them. Don't allow someone to talk to you about a third party in the hopes that you'll talk to the third party and take care of whatever problem they're talking about. And don't help someone else solve a problem for a third party when that third party could and probably should be solving this problem themselves. The important thing to take away from this is that triangulation always causes more problems than it solves. It never helps like you hope it will, so just don't do it. All of this is easier said than done, and you may need some resources to help you. A great place to start is the book Codependent No More by Melody Beattie, and the Codependent No More workbook, also by Melody Beattie. While both of these books actually focus on codependency related to having an addict in your life or in your family, these books are awesome resources that help you identify codependent behaviors and also help you find ways to work your way around them. They are great resources when you are dealing with someone who is codependent, and they are very helpful for helping you stay out of the codependent behaviors that may develop in your life as you are in caring ministries. There are a number of other great resources for codependency. They are also listed in your handout. So is codependency the only sticky trap that exists? Actually, no. There are several others, and they relate to mental illness. And I don't mean mental illness like depression or anxiety. I mean serious mental illness, and a specific type of mental illness called personality disorders. I'll be dealing with those in the next session. If you have any unanswered questions or need any additional resources or perhaps some additional training, please don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you for listening, and God bless.